Apple's new Scary Fast event, and more Apple news. Let's get into it. Welcome back to the channel. And as you know the format, what I typically do in these videos is I go through like 5 or 6 different products that are on sale at Apple right now. And then I get into about 10 or 15 different Apple related news stories, including the Scary Fast event, I guess you'd call it, coming out on the 30th of October. Let's get into it. All right, so sale number 1. You don't see this on sale too often. Take a look at my screen. $14.99 right now for the Apple Studio display. It's $100 off on Amazon right now, usually $15.99. So they usually don't have this on sale except if you get it refurbished, which you can get it for about $13.50 or so on Apple's website. But this is through Apple as well, just on Amazon. Not a bad deal. All right, the next one is very common, but I like to mention it again because it's on sale again. Here it is. It's the Apple 2023 15-inch M2 base model MacBook Air. It's on sale, usually $12.99. It's now on sale for $11.49. You can see it there. So what is it, $150 off or so? Anyways, this is actually the Starlight color, which is hard. Sometimes they just have sales on the Midnight Blue because of the fingerprints. But overall, this is the good color, good price. You know, it might go down a little bit for the Christmas season, but right now that's the best price I see in it, $11.49. All right, the next one's another 14-inch MacBook Pro, and it's kind of in that sweet spot of it gives you a lot of disk space on this model. So look here, it says Apple 2021 14-inch M1, so it's the M1 Pro chip. This only comes with, let me just see here, 16 gigs of RAM, but the key here is 1 terabyte SSD for $22.64, kind of a weird price, only 9% off of what you can normally get that for. But with these weird configurations, sometimes it's hard to get sales on those ones specifically. So if you're looking for a terabyte and you're looking for the M1 14-inch, this is one you might want to look at. All right, this next one is if you want a Series 8 watch. They have it right now. It's a Series 8, but this is the GPS and cellular 45 millimeter, so it's the bigger one as well. Usually, what is this? It looks like it's usually $529 right down here, but now it's $354, so 33% off on that. Just one, I guess one generation behind. So if you don't need the Generation 9 and you can go with the Generation 8, you might want to at least consider this one. It's a pretty good deal. All right, the last 2 specials, I talked about this on my last news one, but this is actually dropped again. So right now, that kind of the lowest end iPad that you can pick up, which is more than anyone needs, now it's down to $249. I think it was $269 in the last time I talked about it, so it dropped another $20. Again, I'll have links to all this on Amazon, so if you want to pick these up, these are probably going to be going away sooner or later. Get one soon. And then if you're still looking for an iPad, but you want something a little bit more, here it is right here. This is 17% off, usually $599. Now it's $499. This is the Apple iPad Air 5th generation with the M1 chip. So not a bad price for this. Again, I've seen it here a couple times. It goes up, comes back down. I haven't seen it too much lower than this specific model here. What is this? This is, let me just see here, 64 gigabytes. So it's kind of the more base model of it, but still not a bad deal. All right, so let's talk about this new Scary Fast event coming out on the 30th of October. This is unlike Apple. Apple usually doesn't have events normally this quickly or at these weird times, especially the day before Halloween, which is kind of funny and kind of cool at the same time. So it makes me think of a couple things. Now, you've heard all these rumors. I've been, relaying the rumors to you. I haven't been making them, but I've been relaying them to you, and they've been all over the place. Mark Gurman's been saying this, and the other guy's been saying that, and they're almost always wrong, right? So I don't know what they're good for, but this is a little unusual. First of all, the Scary Fast, you can see this, I put it up here, but that icon up there, this has to be about Macs. You can see the little Mac icon up there, so we know it's about Macs. So what are they going to be coming out with is the question. And this is, hear me out on here. So here's an article from 9to5Mac. It says what's expected. So a couple different things. It says USB-C cables. Now it shows a couple different ones down here. And it says that a lot of people expected these to be for the new iPhones, but they didn't come out with that. So these might be for the iMacs. And this leaves it interesting, so we'll talk about this in a second. But the most interesting part, and Halloween included, is there's a black one in here. And this could be either a black iMac, which is crazy, or a black MacBook Pro or something like that, which we'll talk about. But look at that black color. There's yellow, pink, blue, and also silver. So that's interesting in itself. Maybe it corresponds with Halloween being that black color. Maybe that's the new one. It doesn't look like it's blue. It looks like it's black. That's number 1. Then we go down here, it says M3 Max. Now they're kind of changing their tunes. All the people that used to say, oh, they're not coming out this year, now they're saying, oh, they are coming out. So after reading all the stuff and putting it all together, a couple different things here. Let me just kind of go down here. So something Gurman didn't expect, he says, M3 MacBook Airs. He says he doesn't expect the Airs to be coming out with the M3, right? He expects either the iMacs with the M3s, which would just be a small, a lot of people don't buy those that often, so that would be a good one to start with. And they're also expecting possibly the 13-inch MacBook Pro, kind of the one with the actual bar on it, so that the version nobody wants, the old design, that could be getting it. or it could be the 14 and 16-inch MacBook Pros as well, which would be really interesting in this case. All right, so all these leakers keep coming out, and again, Gurman thinks it's the 24-inch iMac. He thinks it could be a Pro as well. And then Ming-Chi points at the 13-inch MacBook Pro refresh, and also the 14-inch and the 16-inch MacBook Pros on this having the M3 chip. And even if you look deeper into this thing, and I scroll all the way down here, it says, but what if the M2 iMacs after all? What if they come out with the M2 chip, just making those faster? But it's really a color that's going to be changing here. So maybe they're just changing the colors on the iMacs, or maybe they're changing them to be a darker MacBook Pro even. We have no idea at this point, but the point is it definitely is Mac related. We don't think it's going to be the Mac Mini. We don't think it's going to be the MacBook Airs. We don't think it's the Mac Studio, or we don't think it's the Mac Pro. So it leaves those other systems that we just talked about, which is the iMac, the 13-inch Pro, the 14-inch Pro, the 16-inch Pro. That's what they're thinking is going to be coming out on Monday. And we'll cover all this when we get to there, but I want to know your thoughts. What do you think? Post in the comments. And this is just a kind of a quick thing to point at. Here's an article from AI, Apple Insider. It says new M3 MacBook Pro box may have been leaked. So this box here, you can see it here. It's got a high rumor score. It says it's possibly from China. And it's a box right there that looks like a brand new, that looks like a MacBook Pro to me, right? The thickness of it, maybe the 16, maybe the 14. So this is why they're thinking this might be coming instead. I don't know if Apple would do the chips so early, but it just makes the most sense, I guess. And the iMac slotted in there. Hopefully they'll do the iMac. At least you can see over here, I'm hoping for it for sure. All right, the next story here is kind of interesting. So if you look over here, it says best USB-C and Thunderbolt displays for Mac. So everyone wants to know what are the best displays. I just did a video, my last video, on a BenQ. It's sitting back there. You probably can't see it. 32-inch. And I got vindicated because look at this. So first of all, we go down the list here. It says the first one is an LG 34BK95UW. So that's a good one for the Macs. All right, let's keep going. The next one is a Samsung Viewfinity S9. We've all heard about that one. Pretty steep at $1,600. And you might just want to get the Studio at that point. But the third one on the list here is the BenQ PD3220U. That's the one. Check out my last video. I did a whole video on this thing. I love it. 32 inches, awesome. That's on the list as well. Then we got the LG Ultrafine OLED Pro. You can see it there. The Apple Studio Display and the LG Ultrafine. They're both in there. And then finally, let me just see a couple more. LG Ultrafine 24 and 27 inches is in there as well. And then there's some other ones in here, BenQ 27 or 32-inch Ergo ARM 4K. So a whole bunch of different monitors. Oh, actually, there's one. It's the Samsung M8 they kind of recommend as well. I've heard mixed reviews of that one, but it's just interesting. I was vindicated. I told you I love that monitor, and now people are putting it in the top 7 or 8. All right, this next story, you have to tell me if I'm crazy. So it says Apple wants to use Vision Pro cameras and eye tracking to detect mental health issues, report says, all right? You tell me, are we going down a slippery slope here? So here we are, we put the goggles on, and all of a sudden it's telling me that I'm depressed. It's actually kind of funny. It says it's going to be using like eye motions and other types of things in your body that kind of think if you're depressed and then offer things to you. Do we really want these companies knowing if we are depressed? It's medical information. I understand where this is all going, all right? And I think that at the end of the day, I just want this to be an entertainment product or something for productivity. But I mean, does it need to tell me I'm depressed or not? I just don't know if that's a slippery slope. Having these companies know that information, then if something happens, or then they're sending you stuff, or then someone's putting you in some kind of award somewhere, I just have no idea what's going on with this stuff or where it's going. But you tell me if that's a little creepy, and I just hope that they kind of stay away from that and just focus on what's important. The usability of it, and just using your apps and watching big shows and watching live entertainment and stuff like that. I think that's what we all want. The iPhone 15, is it as good as people think, or has it actually gotten a pretty rotten score? Well, overall, it's actually one of the lower scores recently. So over here it says iPhone 15 Pro rating drops below iPhone 14 and 13, according to 700,000 reviewers. So it looks like the latest study from Perfect Rec is made up of 695,000 people. So it's not a small study of like 1,000, 695,000 users. And if you look at this chart in here, it says percent of users rating the iPhone Pro as 5 stars. You can see here the 15 over here, see it over here? 72% only. iPhone 14 was 76% and iPhone 13 was 84%. So it looks like the iPhone 13 was kind of the best in class out of all these so far, is giving users giving that the 5-star rating. So you tell me, everyone knows that they've had some issues with the heating and some other issues on the iPhone 15. Costs, obviously going up can have something to do with it, but overall it looks like the 13 is the winner. Do you agree with that? I mean, again, it's all, they're very similar, so it's hard to tell. This is kind of exciting news. It says Apple will open its repair programs up more very soon. So it says the White House and Apple have both said that the iPhone, Mac, and iPad repair part availability documentation will widen. And then it says, it basically goes on to say that the news conference comes from the U.S. National Economic Director, and they basically made remarks on Tuesday night saying that the legislation in California and other states, whether you're in California, Maine, Michigan, and all that other kind of stuff, Apple will make the parts, tools, and documentation needed to repair your Apple products available to you at reasonable prices as outlined in California law. Apple backed it up, I guess, by saying, yes, we're going to follow California law with the rest of the United States. So this is good news for the right to repair. If you're interested in that kind of stuff, where you can actually get in and maybe have a third party help you fix things instead of paying thousands of dollars. So anyways, I just wanted to throw it in there. If you're an Apple TV lover, this could be good for you. Maybe, maybe not, but listen to this. So it says, report, Apple planning to revamp TV app will discontinue dedicated iTunes movie and TV shows app. So it says, according to Bloomberg in this new report, Apple's planning a redesign of its version of its TV app that will debut later this year. As part of the changes, Apple is also planning to phase out its dedicated iTunes movies and iTunes TV shows. And then basically on the Apple TV. So it will also reportedly remove these options from the iTunes stores and iPhone and iPad. So they're going to incorporate those into the Apple TV, so it's all in one instead of having individual apps for each of those. Whether you like that or not, I think it's coming. I've read a couple articles on this and it looks like it's almost there. So just wanted to kind of give you the news on that if you're an Apple TV lover and what's coming. And if you're the iTunes person, maybe what's going away. All right, so this next one I get a kick out of. It's just kind of one of those stories that's interesting. So it says iPhone 15 parts costs hit new highs. iPhone 16 price rises ahead. So here it says the display that Apple has to pay for the iPhone 15 is $115 from Samsung. It went up 10% this year. It says that the titanium frame went up 43%. It costs $50. The 17 Pro chip went up 27%. That's now $130. And then finally, the telephone camera went up 280% on that, and it's now it went up $30, or it actually costs $30. I'm sorry. So the cool part is if you read into this whole thing, and I go down to 9 to 5's take, it says one comment basically is that even with parts and everything, the whole phone costs around $558 is what they're saying. But Apple charges around $1,200 for that model, so they still have an apparent profit of $641 per phone, which is over, obviously, double whatever that's costing them. So I think they can take that price hit without maybe gouging us more, but you never know Apple. They might not do that. They might raise our costs as well. But they still make a huge profit, and that's why they're the most valuable company, I think, in the world. All right, this next one is just about the iWatch durability. It's kind of interesting. It says Apple Watch Ultra's durability put to the test as user recovers it from lake after months. This guy here dropped it in the lake, his iWatch, and it looks like I'm trying to think what version it was. I don't know if it says in here. It says, let me just see here. It doesn't really say. I think it's a newer one. Long story short, though, he dropped it in the lake, and he came back, and someone found it 3 months later underwater, a diver or something. He came back, they dried it out, they basically plugged it back in, and it worked fine. So if you're thinking about, can this, if you splash this with some water and the rain is going to survive, this lasted over 3 months, and it's pretty durable. You can see, I think he said here it looked after he cleaned it up right here, and he said it had some stuff growing on it and stuff when he got it, so it was a long time in there. So still pretty robust, and you don't have to worry about a little bit of rain. This next story is kind of interesting. So it says Apple carbon neutral claims are misleading, says EU groups. So they're trying to take away this carbon neutral claim that they can put it on the packaging and stuff, because this whole thing's kind of it's a sham basically. So what Apple does is they actually go out to somewhere in the rainforest. Well, the rainforests are getting cut down, all right? So Apple, in order to kind of say they're carbon neutral, buy carbon credits, which means they can maybe help plant other plants or trees somewhere. But what this place is saying is they're actually doing it in some cases where they're actually making, growing trees to make like toilet paper and just paper products. So those trees don't last as long as the trees they're cutting down. They get cut down right away also just to use, to create more products, which actually then kind of makes more carbon. So it's kind of one of those crazy things where these companies that have a lot of money can kind of put shields up and say they're doing one thing, but the label is what they really care about, not so much everything else. Now, Apple's a little bit different. I'm not calling them out. This is nothing like that. I'm just saying you got to do a little research and all this stuff. I mean, whether it's right or wrong, at least they're doing it, which is better than most. And at the end of the day, I don't know what to say on this. You guys can make your own decisions. All right, this next one's just about the Vision Pro again, just to give you a time frame when this is coming out. It says Apple Vision Pro employee training starts very early in 2024, but I read down here, it says it's going to be the first couple of months of 2024. The employee training starts for offering this. So this looks like it's going to be not early 2024 when this comes out. That usually takes, they say, on new product launches a few months at least, maybe 4 to 6 months. So we're thinking the middle to the end of 2024 now for this. So if you're looking at buying these in Apple stores, it's going to be a little bit while off. All right, just another quick thing if you're a programmer, it says Swift Creator brings new AI programming language to the Mac. So down here it says the development of Mojo, it's called Mojo, is by Chris Lantner, who is the main driver behind a whole bunch of other things. It's basically going to be, it's a new programming language for AI developers, which is cool, which will grow into being a superset of Python over time. So if you're into like AI creation for the Mac, there's a new tool called Swift. It's a new programming language. It was offered, I think, for PC and stuff before, but now it's for the Mac. Anyhow, it's just some news that came out. This one's kind of funny. So Urban Outfitters, you can check. I don't know if they still have any available. It might be gone by the time you watch this. They're offering vintage iPod for $350 to celebrate the device's 22nd anniversary. So Urban Outfitters, sorry. They actually bought a bunch of kind of refurbished ones. They actually took out the hard drives and they put like little flash drives in them, but they're the real old ones. If you can look down here, like they look like the old ones you can see here, but they're charging like $349.99 for them. Obviously, they're in perfect condition. They say they're refurbished, but they're like, look perfect. The backs are perfect. So if you want to pick one of these things up with a modified flash drive and you're just something that you want from the old times and spent a lot of money on it, go to Urban Outfitters and see if there's any left. All right, so we're going to wrap this up. It's getting long again. Let's hope that some new iMacs come out coming up here. We'll know in a couple days, and I will talk to everybody soon. Peace.